How did Semey become the capital of Kazakhstan? Who was called the son of the steppes? Could Kazakhstan become independent 100 years ago? All this in the new episode of Welcome to Kazakhstan project. Information about the Alash party and the national autonomy of Alash Orda is discussed at history lessons only. But this is the brightest moment in the formation of the Kazakh statehood. What was going on during 3 years from the October Revolution to the Soviet authority establishment? We will find all the answers in the city of Semey. My name is Zakirjan Mamlutov. This is Welcome to Kazakhstan project. Let's broaden our horizons. This wooden building is called Alash Arystary. The thing is that it was here where the members of the Alash party had been working. It happened so that after the October Revolution and the collapse of the Russian Empire, a period of anarchy began. And in these troubled years, a group of enthusiasts managed to form a national idea and create autonomy, although for a short time.
Бұл үй 44-тен 67-ге дейін Абай музейі жұмыс істеді.
From 1944 to 1967, this building housed the Abay Museum. Later, it became a children's library, and in 1997, on the 100th anniversary of Mukhtar Avezov, we opened an exposition of the Alash activists and Mukhtar Avezov here. Since then, the building has undergone major overhauls 2 times. The first repair in 1997, and the second renovation in 2017. Next to the photo of Aniyar Moldabayev with his son, there is a photo of the initial view of this house and the memories of Mirza Abdulatov. Here are Sapargali's notes about his father and Abay, as well as family photos. The next hall is dedicated to 6 periods of the Alash party. The first period, as I said, covers the late 19th and early 20th centuries. At that time, Kazakh students who studied in Istanbul, Moscow, Tomsk, Kiev and St. Petersburg created organizations. In his essay on the history of the Kazakh people, Alikhan Bukeikhanov wrote, Alash is the name of the common ancestor of the Kazakhs, although a mystical one. This was the idea of the reformers, to unite all Juzes under one flag, to create an independent state. You all know that the city of Semey was the capital of the Alash party. In 1917, the party moved to the left bank part of the city. Here you can learn more about the history of Alash. The first All-Kazakh Congress, chaired by Khalil Dosmuhametov and under the leadership of Mirza Abdulatov and Asylbek Seitov, was held in Orenburg. The Congress was attended by Kazakhs from Semey, Oral, Zhetesu, Bukey-Orda and Fergana. There were considered 14 issues, but the main ones were land issues, the creation of national autonomy and the creation of a national council. It was at this Congress that the Alash party was formed and got its name. On December the 5th, 1917, the second All-Kazakh Congress was convened. This time, 82 delegates participated. 10 issues were considered. Alikhan Bukeikhanov, Mustafa Shokai and Raimjan Marsekov made reports. Here, too, the main topic was the creation of national autonomy and national council. In addition, the formation of militia. As a result, a resolution to establish the autonomy Alash was adopted. According to this decree, the land, water reservoirs and other resources that are located on the territory of Kazakhstan were to belong to this autonomy. The city of Semey was chosen as the center of the autonomy. After that, the party moved to the left bank part of Semey. From 1917 to 1927, the left bank part of Semey was called the city of Alash. You can see this map here. These are photographs of the Alash party's leaders, which were taken in our city. Bukeikhanov, as you can see, is sitting in the center. The name of Alikhan Bukeikhanov is one of the most important for the history of Kazakhstan. Let's start with the fact that he was a deputy of the first State Duma of the Russian Empire. True, it existed so shortly that by the time Bukeikhanov arrived in St. Petersburg, it had already been dismissed. Until the end of his life, Alikhan fought for the freedom and independence of the Kazakh people. It was on Bukeikhanov's initiative that the Alash autonomy was proclaimed. With such a mark, Alash Orda nationalist, he was sentenced to death in the bloody 1937.
В литературной и публицистической деятельности
In his literary and journalistic activities, Bukeikhanov used many pseudonyms. Whatever he called himself, common man critic, Kyrgyz Kaisak, statistician, but most often he signed as Kurbalase or Dalabalase, which means the son of the steppes, because that was what the people called him. By the way, this building is closely connected with the name of the great Kazakh poet and educator Abay Kunanbayulu. Mukhtar Awezov, who glorified his great ancestor in the work Abay's Path, also visited here.
Что касается истории этого дома, именно Абай помогает приобрести этот дом молодой семье Анияра Молдобаева.
As for the history of this building, it is Abay who helped the young family of Aniyar Moldobayev acquire this house. Aniyar Moldobayev was born in Abay's aul, was orphaned early, and Abay helped him first get an education here in our city.
И продолжает образование уже дальше в Ташкенте.
He studied on a scholarship and continued his education further in Tashkent and came from Uzbekistan with his family. The young family lived in a rented apartment, and Abay, having learned about this, gave the task to his children and nephews to sell a certain amount of cattle, and this house of merchant Moskvin was purchased with the money.
Был приобретен этот дом у купца Москвина.
Subsequently, the grateful owner of this house allocated a special room for Abay, and Abay, coming to Semey, stayed in his house. Of course, not only Abay himself, but also his children and relatives stayed when they came to his house.
Конечно же, не только сам Абай, но и его дети, родственники останавливались, приезжая в этот дом.
Another notable fact is that after Abay's death in 1909, the first book of Abay's works was published in St. Petersburg. And it was through this house that the signal copies of the book's pages were sent. And it was Aniyar who was the intermediary between Abay's nephew Kokitai and the publishing house in editing this collection.
Книги, и именно Анияр был посредником между Кокитаем и издательством в правке этого сборника.
Mirjak Abdulatov, 1935. Alikhan Bukeikhanov, 1937. Ahmed Baytursinov, 1937. Ilyas Jansugurov, 1938. All these are the dates of their death in the camps or at the execution wall. The Soviet government did not forgive the Alash Order activists' pursuit for the independence of their people. In the same 1938, the great Kazakh poet, a member of the Alash party, Makhjan Jumabayev, was also executed. Every year, the study of the Alash party's activities becomes more and more relevant. During the years of Kazakhstan's independence, global research work has been done to collect documents. And on the eve of the celebration of the 100th anniversary of this movement, the management of the museum decided to completely renew the exposition of the Alash Arystary Museum, taking into account new approaches to the study of the Alash Order activists' heritage. It is known that there is no future without knowledge of the past. The experience of the Alash Order activists, their struggle for independence, is an excellent example to study. And while in Semey, do not miss the opportunity to visit a significant for the history of Kazakhstan place, Alash Arystary.